order tonight. Roll call, please.
Here. Member Shu?
Here.
Member Fiore?
Here.
Member Shedzik? I'm going to say it wrong.
It's okay, here.
Sorry, Shannon. Chair Hedges?
Here.
All here, and we're ready to go. I'm
you.
sorry. Youth Commissioner
Yes.
Langlis? Here. You guys, I'm sorry. It's been a while since I've done yours.
All right. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and Jeff, will you lead us? Thank you.
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Jeff. We'll now come to the election of chair and vice chair, and how do you want us to handle that, young lady?
We will go ahead and call for nominations for chair. We'll make a vote on that. Call for nominations for vice chair, and we'll vote on that, and we'll go from there.
I'll make a motion to keep Pat in the hot seat.
So I have a motion. Do we have a second?
Yes. I second.
Okay, thank you. And Sarah, second. Okay, for Pat's. Okey doke. Now go ahead and call for a vote on that. Member Shu?
Yes.
Member Fiore?
Yes.
Member Shedzicki?
Yes.
And Chair Hedges?
Yes.
And Commissioner Langlis?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Our chair will continue to be Member Pat Hedges. Thank you. Now, continue.
I'd like to make a motion to have Jeff as our vice chair, please.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Jeff, by Pat, and second by Sarah. Okay, and we will go ahead and vote. And we will go with Member Shu,
Yes.
Member Fiore,
Yes.
Member Shazicki,
Yes.
Chair Hedges,
Yes.
and Youth Commissioner Langlis.
Yes.
And motion passes. So we have Chair Pat Hedges and Vice Chair Jeff Shu. Thank you both.
Don't have to change seats, that's good. Okay, next we will have the presentation of traffic studies. This year's Alma.
Yes, that is mine. However, we are going to continue this presentation to the next meeting. There's a few things that need to come together for the benefit of the commission, so we will continue that for the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now have the appeal notice, and I guess you're
Yes,
reading
that would be
too.
me.
Thank you.
I don't have my glasses, but I'll do my best. This is, in the event that you disagree with the action taken by the Planning Commission in regards to your application or with any condition of approval of the application, which is not a specific requirement of the Norco Municipal Code, you're entitled to appeal such determination or conditions to the Norco City Council, provided that such appeal is filed with the Norco City Clerk within 10 calendar days after the requirements for appeals, inclusive of payment of an appeal fee.
Thank you, Alma. And now the public comments, City Clerk.
Yes, Chair. This is the time when persons wishing to address the presiding governmental body regarding matters not on the agenda may be heard. Please submit a speaker card to the meeting clerk. Please limit comments to 3 minutes or less. The Ralph M. Brown Act limits governmental bodies' ability to respond to comments on non-agendized matters at the time such comments are made. The governmental body shall not discuss or act relative to any general public comment. We have one speaker card for Bill Naylor.
Okay, thank you.
Evening, Commissioner. Keep this real short. I'm really pleased to see that we are up to staff now with code enforcement. And what I'd like to recommend to you guys is to consider having the supervisor of code enforcement attending the Planning Commission meetings, because there are a number of things that do come up that are code enforcement related that would be nice for them to be aware of what's going on and also be able to update you guys on current status of some of these things that come before you. As well as it also gives the public an opportunity to see and interact with the lead code enforcement officer here in the city. I just think it's a real good idea, and I know when I was code enforcement in another city, the supervisor always attended. I know I had to a number of times when I stepped in for that position, the Planning Commission meetings, just so that everything was kind of on the up and up and people could communicate better. But that's just a recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
There's no further comment, Chair.
Okay, well, we'll have it come back to us. And let's see, 2A is the approval of the Planning Commission meetings.
I'll make a motion to approve the Planning Commission meeting minutes from July 9th, 2025.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Member Shu,
Yes.
Member Fiore,
Yes.
Member Shaziki,
Yes.
Chair Hedges.
I have to abstain, I wasn't there.
You weren't here. I have you as abstained. And Youth Commissioner Langley.
Yes.
Thank you. And motion passes unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now go to discussion item 4A, and whose is that? Is that yours, Alma? Oh, it's Erica.
It's
I'm
mine.
sorry. Forgive me,
Erica's.
Erica. Sorry.
4A is, that's the, as I have been noticed that there's, for item 4A, there might be two conflicts on, with members of the commission for the item for 4057 Temescal, that you would need to recuse yourselves. So at this time, I would need the members to recuse themselves from this item. So I just need you to speak into that you're recusing yourself.
I'm recusing myself, but
I'm recusing myself.
Okay, with that, we will no longer have a quorum. We will have to continue this item. We will go ahead and continue this item to our October meeting, as we will be hopefully appointing at the next city council member a new member for the Planning Commission. So we will, not have this problem again for an item. So I thank you on that. So we can continue to the next item. Thank you.
thank you. We'll now go to 4B, and I think this is yours. Alma?
Yes, this is mine.
Thank
It
you.
should be very quick. So good evening, commissioners. This agenda item 4B is our annual review of the accessory building ordinance. As the commission is aware, our ordinance requires that the ordinance be reviewed, our accessory building ordinance be reviewed on a yearly basis. And typically, the review consists of a background of when the ordinance was adopted, the changes, just a summary of the changes, how many accessory buildings were reviewed, or excuse me, approved in the previous year, basically 2024. And then there's a discussion on any issues that have come up that may warrant some changes to the accessory building ordinance. So those are basically the three items that the report consists of. The report consists of, like I said, a summary of the changes that have occurred in the past years. And I did notice in there, I note in there that there are some changes that were recorded last year that we're still working on that, and that we come to the Planning Commission. They're in progress. And it gives you the list of the accessory buildings that were approved last year. And to conclude, at this point, I don't have any items that were presented to the planning, or excuse me, the staff, city staff, to bring forward for discussion. So that's kind of a first, which is good. However, the Planning Commission does have the discretion to bring something up for discussion that's within the accessory building ordinance. So with that, I will conclude, and it's basically a receive and file. This report will also be provided to the City Council and can incorporate anything that the Planning Commission determines is worthy of recognition or discussion. So with that, I will conclude. Thank you.
So we will have some questions for you. Is that okay? Okay. Shannon, would you have any questions or concerns?
No.
Kath?
Just a typo.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Sorry.
That's good.
Page 37. It's a 100 square foot RV garage, and I think you want it to be a
Ah,
1,000
yes.
square
Say
foot
1,000, sorry.
garage.
Small.
Very small. Just 1 0. Sorry.
My apologies. Sorry.
Jeff?
So one quick clarification, maybe a revision on the accessory, the garage. On page 9, item G, where it says no interior wall separations are allowed with the exception of the washroom and restroom. I think the intent for that was within the
Yes.
garage area, but I would add to clarify that also between the garage area and the accessory use. Because remember, we added the 1,000 and then the 400 square foot, or yeah, the 400 square foot accessory use.
So we're talking about page, item G, that
47.
no interior wall separations are allowed with the exception of the washroom and restroom, and you want, your recommendation is that we clarify that to, I'm sorry.
No interior, so right now it says no interior walls are allowed. So that was within the RV or the maximum 1,000 square foot. But then we're also allowing a 400 square foot accessory building. And so the way that it reads right now, if you take it all together, that 1,400 square foot
Wouldn't have any walls.
would have to be an entirely open room, and the only thing that you can have in there would be the washroom. But I'm looking to add the clarity that there
Yes,
could
I
be a
gotcha.
wall between the 1,000 and the 400
Yeah,
as well.
I gotcha. So, okay. So one of the, just going back to the discussion and the amendments that will come before the Planning Commission is that we are going to eliminate the 400 square feet. So that's, okay. Got it.
Is that it, Jeff? Sarah?
No questions.
I don't either. So is that all you needed?
All I need, it's the required reviews, so here we are.
There you are.
I am. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to Alma. It's yours again. Agenda
Oh,
item
dear.
4C.
Yes, that's me. All right, let me get to that page. So this agenda item 4C is, just to start off with a real quick summary, the City Council has directed the Planning Commission to have a discussion for the potential of developing some appropriate development standards to address building size and or lot coverage for non-residential agricultural conditionally permitted uses in the A1 zone, with the intent of increasing the compatibility of these conditionally permitted uses, like, you know, in the A1 zone, like, for example, a church, or, for example, you know, maybe a recreational type of building. So the intent, they wanted us, the Planning Commission, to look at, you know, to have a discussion, maybe brainstorm on how this could potentially happen. And staff in the staff report did kind of, to help lead the discussion, list a few items that could possibly be discussed or, you know, considered. For example, because there is a potential for residential uses on all sides of conditionally permitted uses, the side yards of 5 and 15 could be increased to a minimum of 25 feet on all sides. A building height can be reduced to 25 feet. Lot coverage can be reduced to a sliding scale depending on the lot size, or simply 25% of the total lot, regardless of, you know, how flat the pad area is. And again, this is just some recommendations to help lead the discussion. And the purpose of this item is for the Planning Commission to have a discussion on potential ways to make conditionally permitted uses in the A1 zone more compatible with, again, our low intensive residential uses, animal keeping uses that are in the A1 zone. And with that, I will conclude, and we can start our discussion. So I'm, we can just go around to each commissioner to see if, or we can. It's at the pleasure of the Planning Commission how they want to start that.
Well, we'll go each commissioner, and then we can have a
Sure.
discussion. Too. So we'll start, Sarah? Okay, Jeff?
I think one of the concerns from the previous project was the massing of it. I think the size of the overall project. And I think just from what I heard from people along the way was that if the massing of it was broken down into smaller scales, it would have been more to scale to the neighborhood and might have been more palatable. So one of the things that I would suggest would be kind of consider looking at some sort of language in there that not necessarily limits how much square footage you can have on the entire site, but in terms of something like no single building shall be greater than like 10,000 square feet or something, so that it forces them to break up the buildings into smaller pieces. I think the height is something that is a little challenging to put it into 25 feet. I think we're running into some of the A120 zones that would be kind of pushing at that boundary as is. I would like to see more of a articulate graduated setback that kind of deals with that a bit more, so that it does require greater distance and that you wouldn't be able to reach that current 35 feet unless you were well back from the property line.
Similar to how our accessory building, yeah. Okay.
That was it.
Kathy?
I think, as Jeff said, is somewhat a bounce back off of the previous project. This makes a lot of sense, because what we all agree to, I think, is that we want whatever it is to fit in nicely with a neighborhood, a residential neighborhood, not stand out to be something significantly out of place. And I think I would like to see the exterior finishes at least integrate better within what that particular, maybe that block or that neighborhood is already about. So we've got, 2 or 3 different little cities here in Norco in terms of look, because of their age and because of style, 2-story versus 1, that maybe that exterior materials would be a consideration as to whether or not, to make sure that it is integrated such that it fits in, and it doesn't have to perfectly match, but it needs to look like it was intended to be there in that neighborhood and not just thrown in later on.
Thank you. Shannon?
So I think that we should do a sliding scale with the lot sizes. And I think 25% is too large, because when you start doing the math on it on a 5-acre parcel, you're still going to get a very large building on one parcel itself. So I think a sliding scale needs to be done as far as like per an acre, as far as like what percentage we're going to allow. Because when I broke it down, even at 5% on 5 acres, you're looking at a 10,890 square foot building on that lot. And then again, on 4 acres, you're looking at 8,712. Then when you go to 1 acre, I increased it by 7% just to get somewhat of a square footage amount. And that was like a 3,409 or 3,049. So I think if you do a scale per the lot, I think that hopefully would stop getting that large number being allowed. And then as far as, it needs to stay within the character of Norco. And I think if you're going to have the subject area that has all single-story homes, I think there should be something where that building has to be a single story. And if it's gonna be built in an area that has 2 stories and that's what's adjacent to that lot, to the property, then you could allow the 2-story. But I think it's gotta fit in with the overall neighborhood as a whole.
I think that has a few complications to it because you're restricting what the neighbors could do at that point. Because if you're saying your neighbor doesn't have a 2-story building, then
what
are
the
you
neighbor
not
can't
going to be
ever
able
have a
to?
2-story
So,
building.
but I would kind of like to hear Bill speak to that on what restriction, what legality there is in terms of restricting the percentage of allowable area. Because I'm guessing there's some limitations on what we can and can't do.
Well, you're absolutely right. But you have a lot of flexibility, a lot of authority. As I've been listening, and this will probably get Alma ready to kick me, actually your first step, you've got character, I'll call it philosophic, and even policy ideas as to whether it be 3 or 4 little cities combined in, whether it be matching neighborhoods. That's your general plan. We put those policy statements in that we want it to match, we want it to be consistent, we want it to be seamless, if you will. The zoning then becomes simply implementing. You can go with the sliding scale that matches the guidelines in the general plan. Everything you've said is very appropriate, again, for creating the shell of what your implementation and zoning is going to be. Now, to your specific question, it comes down to Supreme Court Justice Potter Stewart talking about obscene matters, said I can't define them, but I know them when I see them. It is the rule of rationality. We can't destroy full use of somebody's property. In turn, the case law, both at the federal and state levels, say as long as you leave some reasonable use of the property, you're good. So if you say, I'm making up numbers, don't anybody, if you say half of it's got to be kept open space, lawn, whatever, that's fine because half of your property is a fair and reasonable use. If you shrink it down to 20%, now we're getting close to making properties unusable. That's why we do the general plan with the policy statements. We want it to be consistent. We want it to be seamless. We want it to be, though, usable for the property. You set those philosophic standards. We do implementing standards to then implement that general plan. And for those unique circumstances, that's why God made variances. So we have a general rule. If somebody's got an oddball circumstance, they come in and present it, and if they're persuasive, they get to do it. If not, they're limited to what the code says. So the rule of reasonableness, if you will, sir, each property, as a real estate person, location, 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 they're all a little different. We try to come up in the general plan with a broad enough set of policies to be able to kind of fudge them to fit, but a uniform standard that says this is Norco, whether it's in any one of those 3 or 4 little cities or wherever it is. So in a good weaselly lawyer way, we got a lot of flexibility. As long as we're not too crazy, we can get away with it.
Did he answer you?
I'm just thinking that if if we put something to paper that said on a sliding scale of an 8-acre lot, you're allowed 5% of your footprint, that's probably not going to fly.
Yeah, I've done a lot of eminent domain and inverse condemnation. It's sort of the straight face test. You were just smiling when you said it. When you've gone too far, and again, that's why I started with the Supreme Court quote, it's hard to give you an exact formula, but you know it when you see it. You go, oh man, that one we're kind of pushing. And that's where, though, in almost every ordinance that you'll see coming from us, there is always the safety valve of a variance. That is what, you haven't stripped somebody automatically of all rights. You've just kind of compelled them to tell a better story. So even if it is 5%, if we have a good story, a rational basis for requiring 5%, here in Norco, 95%'s got to be open because the goats are going to come eat it, whatever. We've got a reason for doing it. That's what the courts look at. Government can't act by fiat or just abusive nature. If we have a good reason for what we're doing, even if it's kind of wacky, the courts will generally support it because we're showing a valid government purpose. If we just say, oh, it sounded good that day, then we're going to get knocked over.
Thank you. I like the ideas that, as you recommended, Alma. I mean, I really like that there be more minimum feet on the lot size, depending on what be it having it increased. I like the reduced to 25 feet for the building height also. And then I like the sliding scale. I think that would work really well. I agree that anything extra, people can come to us and ask for variances, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but I like to integrate those things into what you're looking for. Any other discussion? No? Is that all you needed, Alma? No, you look very doubtful. You wanted something more. What more do you want?
I just want to make
Alma?
sure that I have a consensus on what I'm going to take forward to the city council.
You want to go over it?
Yes. So Commissioner Shu, I think one of the ways for discussion is to bringing up the mass of the building.
I think in
Right.
generalization, just create a maximum building size.
Maximum building size.
Yeah, an appropriate maximum building size. I don't know if it's 10,000, and the reason why I say that and why I didn't want to limit the amount of square footage, because I feel like if we're talking about percentages, it opens us up for someone coming in and saying that you've made my property unusable
correct.
from what we purchased it for. So my idea is that you can still build your allowable area. It just needs to be broken up into smaller buildings. And that's the idea behind the maximum building size.
So lot
it's-
coverage.
Yeah.
Can you use yours? Thank you. Sorry.
You get the same lot coverage ultimately just on a more piecemealed basis rather than one large entity smaller.
So basically, rather than having just for simple terms, 50,000 square foot building, you can have your 50. Each building, it's got to be broken up into several buildings to where they're not more than 10,000 square foot each. So it breaks up the massing of the building. That way, it's more compatible with.
It's in the neighborhood.
Yeah. And then, and you talked about the graduated setback. Establish some kind of graduated setback, depending on the height of the building, that's going to dictate the setback. So those what Commissioner Shu. And then, okay. Kathy talked about in the architecture that makes sure that it incorporates exterior, not only architecture, but actual exterior building material that, you know, is,
I think that's one of the things we had with the church. Unfortunately, it was
Yeah.
shiny and bright and it didn't fit in the
got it,
neighborhood.
okay.
you know?
So, and then Commissioner Chitwicki, your comment was 25% is too much, and the sliding scale needs to stay within the character. Is that still? All the recommendations that were put forward in the staff report is what you want them to,
I'm comfortable with that. I think that would work for
Okay.
what we're looking for.
okay. And then Commissioner Langlois,
I just agree with Commissioner Hedges and Shu. So.
okay, okay. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is basically to the city council and say, hey, here's a list of potential ways to address the situation, and you tell me what to do. All right.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move. Do we have public comment? No. Oh, we did. Oh, sorry. Okay, open the public hearing.
Yes, we have one public comment card, Bill Naylor.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bill. My little light isn't coming on.
Evening again. I wasn't really going to say anything, but then you guys got in the discussion. The low-density agricultural properties is basically what it sounds like you're interested in doing. And a situation came to my attention here several months back, and I've been doing a little bit of research on it, and I thought maybe it would be good just for you guys to understand a situation that was brought to my attention. We were riding down the Torres Trail. Resident was out mowing and trying to clean up their property, and they have a big, humongous piece of property, you know, I'm going to guess 5 to 10 acres. Basically nothing on it. And they bought it, and they wanted to turn it into a pasture. Now, they could not get a permit to install a water meter to irrigate the pasture. Now, Norco has recently, or not so recently, but is wanting to go more and more agricultural. We've got a historic overlay area and so on and so forth. But here in town, they can't put a pasture with irrigation or grow crops on a vacant piece of land. That seems awful strange to me. And I just thought I would share that story with you, and maybe with what I know this sort of falls under Public Works, and I have brought it to their attention, and they're looking into it too. I understand part of it is that they did not want to have a water meter on a piece of property that was vacant, and then possibly have someone come in and illegally build some structure or live on the property or something like that. I think that I'm trying to find out whether it was policy or code that was created to stop people from putting a water meter on a vacant piece of property. But this is Norco, this is Horsetown, USA. This is agricultural area, and we need to use those vacant land. And I can use one example down here on Valley View in Detroit. They have an arena and such in there and animals, but yet lo and behold, they had to bring in a water tank because there was no house on the property to water the animals. So they have to bring in water routinely to fill those tanks to water the animals. It's kind of crazy, but I just wanted to bring you guys up to date on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
No further comments, Chair.
Close the public hearing, bring it back to us. Okay, we're going to move on to 5A. Erica, this yours?
I'll do the presentation, yeah.
Okay.
Item 5A is a conditional use permit for a CUP 2025-04. This is a request to allow 18 additional animal units for a total of 35 units for the lot at 3745 Sierra Avenue. The lot is in the A120 zone. This is a lot that has, I believe it's over an acre, acre and a half, with 66,087 square feet. Per the A1 zone, that lot size does allow 16 animal units at 60,000 square feet. Every additional 4,000 square feet, you can add additional units. So the legal animal units on the site right now is 17. This is an aerial view of the site. This is the way it looks now. And this is located on the east side of Sierra Avenue. This is the proposed site plan. This is just showing you that with the pipe corrals, the paddock area, and the open animal keeping in the rear of the property, that there is enough space to have the additional animal units. The planning department, when we're dealing with additional animal units, communicates with animal services based on their after-action report. We then base our decision as well as the site plan that is submitted to planning department. Animal services did not have an issue with the additional animal units, and based on that, we did recommend approval. Animal Services is here if you do need to speak with them, as well as the property owner.
Thank you. We'll start with any questions of staff, and then we'll move on from there. In fact, would you mind coming up in case we have questions for you too? Thank you. Kathy, would you have any questions for anyone?
Sure. Hi, Cecilia.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Long
Thank
time no see.
Not that long, but all right.
So I have a question, not having been on this property. When it, and it kind of goes back to my era in code enforcement and a lot of complaints I would receive on this particular topic. And that is whether or not the paddocks, for example, and also the individual stalls, whether they are fully surrounded with pipe rail, or is there any intent to use the existing perimeter fencing as a part of that paddock fencing?
The corrals, from looking at his plans that I've been privy to see, I believe the corrals are all encased in pipe panels themselves and have their offset from the perimeter property line. The turnout in the back, I believe, was just already open, and so there's just a front like gate across the front of it to keep it closed. There's no property line or property adjacent in the back to this. It's the canal.
There you are.
So,
there it is.
yeah.
Good job, Erica.
Wrong direction.
There you go.
Okay.
Oh, maybe I'm mistaken. It does look like there is fencing off of there.
So is that flood control right of way back there?
Yes.
Okay, so there is a flood control approved fencing, probably chain
Yes.
link,
Yes.
right? And so that,
But it actually looks like there is paneling offset from there, so.
so does it, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't really take a look at it personally, I probably should have. But that would be my caution, is that it would be a true pipe rail or something similar that would keep the horses away from the actual perimeter fencing and a setback for cleaning. I know with flood control, we had a lot of complaints about manure spilling over onto the flood control property, and had to do abatement or team back and forth between code enforcement and Rivco flood control. And that was always a problem. They asked for setbacks for the animals at least a few feet so people can walk back there and clean, but not let it pour.
Correct. And I don't think if there was an issue with that on this property, the owner would have any, he's been nothing but cooperative for anything that we've asked for in the past.
To
So I
modify.
don't think if there, and his property's always been clean, so I don't think there would be an issue if that's what you guys requested of him.
Okay, great. So that's another part of your willingness to support this, is that they have a history
Yes.
of always being in
Yes.
control of manure and, okay.
Yes,
Because the
property's
more
been clean.
horses, the more manure.
Correct, yeah, and they're aware.
Kind of funny how that works.
Anything else, Kath? That's it? Shannon?
So one of my concerns is the fact that it's zoned in a high fire area, and then across the way is a very high fire area. So say in an emergency situation, are all these animals on that property going to be able to get off that property in a timely manner by adding more
Yeah,
to it?
Shannon, let's have that come back under discussion.
Okay.
This is just questions
Oh.
of staff. So
Okay,
you want to
sorry.
specify,
Okay.
okay? We'll bring it back, though. Jeff?
Yeah, a couple of questions. One for you, Cecilia. I know typically when something like this comes in front of us, the recommendation is typically when they're requesting additional animal units, you guys have recommended half again as much as allowed typically. I just like to hear your thoughts, rationale, on why this is, we're essentially doubling it on that. Give us the reasoning for it.
I know that was the previous superintendent's stand on it, and maybe previous even to him. However, I feel like if the property can sustain it and we have no violations and the property stays clean, I mean, the property next door went through the same process and was able to get well over half more than what is, typically allowed. It's different if we go on a property and we have a hard time getting people to comply, or there's not enough acreage to facilitate stalls big enough where animals can stand comfortably. Even with this man's property having turnouts and even some more free space, he could technically, per UC Davis's recommended stall sizes, house more if he just wanted to have a full-on boarding facility. I don't think that's this gentleman's plan. I think he wants to have the pens seem like he wants to have a comfortable space and enough room for the horses to move along with the turnout. So I think as long as they can sustain it, then it should be granted.
I mean, we always defer to you guys' opinion, so it's helpful to hear that.
Absolutely.
I do have a question for Erica. On the plan, it looked like the corrals were right up against the property line. Is that the intent? And the only reason I ask is because it showed a dimension to the garage, which kind of pushes it up against the property line.
Yeah, he will have to have a 5-foot setback to that.
So is that going to cause a problem with the 18-foot? Because now you're going to be at 13 feet between the garage and the corral.
So just so I understand your question, Commissioner Shu, are you talking about just the fencing or the entire, or the covered area? Because typically the covered area is what has to be 5 feet away from property line.
Right.
So are you referring to the open area or the covered area?
And maybe you could speak to this. My understanding with the 5-foot was to allow animal rescue to be able to get their apparatus around. The intent was that you'd be able to get access to them. And so that was why I thought we were supposed to maintain a 5-foot distance from the property line. I'm open to you guys telling me otherwise.
I don't.
As far as code goes, I don't know that there's anything that says that they have
Yeah.
to be off of there. But we most likely wouldn't be able to get our apparatus through that section anyways. We would be going through the most open part of the property through the front.
So from a zoning perspective, it's 5 feet away from what's covered, the covered portion. It's 5 feet away from property line. But I think what Commissioner Chu is asking, for emergency purposes, if animal control needs to get to the back, the portion that's immediately adjacent to the property line, is that potentially a problem? Am I asking that correctly? For safety reasons, more than anything.
I really can't speak to it because I don't think that there's any equipment we're going to get through 5 feet. We'd have to utilize the next property over and see if we could get into there. But there's several properties like that that are set up here. So there is plenty of room to drive back right in the middle of this gentleman's property. Not foreseeing any disaster that would maybe block those ingress and egress areas, but we could always, fire's really good at cutting stuff down.
I'll circle back to this, but I think I want to ask about where our language identifies the covered area being 5 feet, because I had always understood it to be 5 feet to the actual corral. But anyway, that's all I got for now.
Sarah, any questions?
No questions to staff.
Okay, I have no questions. Staff, thank you very
Thank you.
much. Thank you. Now, can we hear from the property owner?
Yeah. We'll open public comments.
Yes.
I have one speaker card from Cassandra Hawley.
Thank you. I also submitted my comments via email. I wasn't sure if I was going to be here. So I'm not sure if those are going to be read verbatim or not.
No, we do not read those.
You do not? Okay. So I am the property owner to the north, and I will say that currently all of the stalls do share the property line fence, which is chain link. It is posed a substantial hazard to the people on my property. The horses kick, push, pull, charge the fence. They're fighting. We've had to call multiple times for bloody horses. There have also been issues with manure coming onto our property through the fence, for which we did make a complaint because we know those Riverside County flood control reasons, and we have to comply with those. So we can't have manure on our property. We have children on our property who are picking up the manure, potentially eating it, touching it. So we have to be very cautious of that. So that has happened already. I would very much like to see this property improved. It was exciting to see this, but the 5-foot setback, I agree with you. I've poured through the code on this, and I've been told multiple times as well by animal control that it is 5 feet off the property line if there's food and water, if they are actually being housed. I cannot find that in code. I've called 3 separate times to animal services, and they told me the same thing, but I cannot find it on the code either. So I think a clarification would definitely need to be needed. But I am concerned that that's potentially 35 horses on a 1 acre, 1.5 acre property. So it's a lot for the safety. I would love to see it improved and fixed with proper fence line along the property for the safety of everybody, as well as that 5 feet. In addition, there are residences on my property that this site plan would violate the 35-foot rule from a residence with animals being housed. So I would ask that that complies with the code as written. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Buddy Slager.
Okay, the 5-foot rule. My horses have to be 5 foot off the property line. My neighbor's horses are supposed to be 5 foot off the property line, so there's a total of 10 feet. I don't want my neighbor's stallion right next to my mare's. And as she says, it doesn't have to be a stallion mare. 2 horses can have a disagreement. So the idea of the 5 foot off of each property line was to have 10 feet to keep the horses from interacting. The 5 feet isn't, as Cecilia says, isn't enough to get through. You have to have 15 feet. That's why your house, it's 5 foot on one side and 15 feet on the other side. You need to have 15 feet to get the knacker truck through, to get the hay truck through, all of those things. So if that sort of clears it up, thank you.
Thank you.
No further comment, Chair.
Can we have the owner come up, please? Hello, could you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Anthony Sun, and hi, Commissioners.
Hi. Anybody have any specific questions for him? Shannon?
Do you plan on having the additional horses? Is it going to be a boarding facility?
Yeah, so I purchased this property about 3 years ago. It's a father-daughter thing. My daughter started riding at 5.5. We don't come from a horse background, so I involved myself in horses about 3 years ago. I chose Arabian horses, so I started showing horses in Scottsdale and everything. We enjoy it. I'm very passionate about animals and what I do. I actually come from a breeder background of 26 years of dog breeding, showing, creating a bloodline, and my dogs are known around the world. So that passion entered into the horses when my daughter started riding at 5.5. She's about 9 now. When I got this property, it was for boarding, training, and breeding. So I'm creating a whole bloodline in the Arabian horse world that I can enjoy with my daughter. Asking for the 35 horses is partially for me to be able to train, board, to support my program. And I know the facility is large enough, and I heard other comments about, them being worried about maybe it's too many horses or manures, or, when they came over and said, so my neighbor that ended up buying the property next door, when animal control came, I did have a manure issue on the property because I had a squatter. So the tenant in the front, I had to evict. He was blocking his truck from me getting any manure out for almost 4 months. So when animal control came by and I was fined for having manure over there, I had to go ahead and hire someone to come and remove the excess manure. I'm contracted with Waste Management bi-weekly, so twice a week. They come every Tuesday and every Friday to pick up the manure existing right now. I'm hoping to get more so I'm able to board and allow for this, but like Supervisor Morris said, I want enough room for my horses. I don't want 12 by 16 corrals. I want 24 by 16s at the minimum. If I do have to abide by the setbacks and follow the code, I can lower that to 19 feet by 16 to meet the setback if needed, but I want ample enough space for the horses that I can facilitate on the property. Yeah.
Any other questions, Shannon?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Kathy?
Hi.
Hi.
Do you foresee having events on the property? Or is it just as you originally applied for?
Yeah, I would like to be able to have a place where I can set up a round pen, which I put in my site plan. I want to be able to work my horses instead of trying to take them over to Ramsey's Ranch to work them. I pay trainers to train my horses. I would like to be able to save that money and train on my own facility. And I would like to be able to board to kind of substitute a little bit of monetary value to support my horse endeavors. But yeah, I plan on training and working my horses on my own property. The only thing that I have right now are my large paddocks turnouts and also the hot walker that I utilize to exercise them with.
Because I see on the plan arena seating. So of course that makes me think big events.
I was just thinking for me to sit to watch my daughter
That's
or anyone else. Yeah, somewhere where
Two
I don't
chairs,
even
right?
sit.
Two
Yeah.
chairs.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're good.
Is that it?
Thank you.
Jeff, questions? Sarah? I had a question, and maybe I read it incorrectly. Now, you live on the property?
No, I don't. I
Okay.
would eventually like to move to the city of
So
Norco.
you have it rented out now?
Yes,
So the person that lives there is going to do all this stuff?
No,
that
no, no,
you're
no,
doing?
no. No, so she lives in the front. She actually has one of her horses boarded on the property as well. I have a ranch hand there. I'm at the property 4 to 5 times a week. I work out in Mira Loma as well. I live in the city of Claremont. My wife and I have discussed possibly moving to the city of Norco when my daughter gets a little bit older. But as of right now, her being in elementary school and possibly middle school, we're going to stay out there.
So the tenant lives in the front house, and then you
Correct.
have a ranch hand that takes care of the animals?
Yes, so they
the
feed.
tenant only takes care of her animal?
Yeah, but we have a good relationship. She's always looking at the horses.
Right.
She's a
Does-
horse person herself,
Does
so.
the ranch hand live on the property?
No, he does not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that was my only question.
Okay.
Thank you very
Okay.
much. Thank
No
you.
problem.
Okay, that would be all.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we're going to close the public hearing and bring it back for us for discussion. Sarah, what do you think and what do you want to discuss?
Okay. I definitely agree with the 5-foot setback just to protect the horses and everyone on both properties. And then with the owner not living at the property and instead of renter, if there's ever an emergency there, since there's not the ranch hand and the owner don't live there with that many horses, I feel like that can be an extreme issue, especially since he lives far. So I would maybe want to see less horses allowed, but still allow some horses.
I'm kind of standing firm on the 5 foot on that in terms of the corral, and I'm not. I think the site is large enough that I would not push back on this. That I think there's ways to work around that. So I wouldn't be pushing to deny on any sort of thing along those lines. But I would. Yeah, I would definitely want to see the 5 foot pushed out, and that will have implications on the proximity to the garage, as noted before. One of the things I did want to ask is, in our standards for the pipe corrals and stuff like that, we have language about the interconnection of the covered area. Is this coming to us as a submittal for the corral, or are these intended to be kind of the permit-free pipe corrals? Okay, so if that's the case, we need to make sure that that it complies with all of those criteria as well.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm not too sure on the numbers yet. I wait to hear from my.
Okay, Kath, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking I would want that good neighbor 5 foot setback for the stalls. In my term in code enforcement, that question came up many, many times, and the answer was that it's not codified, but that in the old days, everybody knew better than to put their horses up against a chain link fence, and that's basically the philosophy. But then, of course, come in new horse owners, and it's not codified, so it's just been a nuisance and an annoyance between neighbors for a long time. Well, that's my experience. So that is why I would go for the 5 foot setback as well. I mean, it just makes sense to be able to get back there when you need to, for whatever purpose. And I 35 seems like a big number, but since Animal Services has done their homework, obviously, and they are the professionals in this area, I would expect that if there should be problems along the way, they would be the ones to say, this isn't working, and to go back to the drawing board. And so I don't have a problem with the numbers.
Shannon?
I guess my biggest concern is if we do have an emergency fire, how you can get all those animals off the property safely. And the fact that it's considered a high fire area and their across the street is very high fire area. And then you also have 2 other parcels that are adjacent to this property that also have animals on their property. So then you're looking at the Ramsey Ranch. She's got 2.55 plus 1.62. And then, of course, your property that's next door. That's a lot of animals on those 3 parcels already. So by adding the additional amount, that's additional animals to have to get off a property if you do have an evacuation situation. The 5 feet, yes, agree 100%. It has to be 5 feet from the property line. The other concern is the manure storage. I think something should be probably stipulated as far as having like a manure storage designated area so that it doesn't have that problem with going into the neighbors or going into the flood control. I do think adding the additional horses is a larger number. I don't know what number would be more reasonable, but I guess we can discuss that, and thank you.
My main concern with this, being a property manager, having tenants on properties are difficult, and obviously you've already told us that when they couldn't pick up the manure for 4 months. Adding 18 more animals and having to deal with tenants where you have to go through an eviction, and that can last for months and months, I know that. Some of the tenants won't let you on the property. So you not living there and wanting 18 more horses just doesn't make sense to me. If you live there, I would have no problem with it. But adding additional horses, even with a ranch hand, and having a tenant live there, just seems like, even in some of the paperwork we had here, that you have had problems because of that. So I'm just very uncomfortable adding that many horses, additional horses, when it's not owner occupied. So that's really how I feel about it. I understand what you're saying as animal control, but again, if the owner lived there, it'd make a difference. Tenants have a lot of rights now that they never had before, and it causes a lot of problems for owners. And now we're talking about animals involved in that, and I just think it's a bad combination.
I did have 2 technical questions for Erica and Alma. And this is coming from Cassandra, your email. Just wanted to kind of clarify these. She had mentioned that there are animals within 35 feet of residences. Have you looked into that, and any implications that would have?
So Alma?
No, go ahead.
So we do measure it from the cover. So I did see the email, and I did do, it's an approximate measurement, and it looks like we're fine.
Okay, I just want to confirm that. The other one is about the size of the lot, and her indication that if it's a 65,000 square foot, then it was allowed 16 rather than 17. I don't know what the physical number is.
So in the A1 zone, if you have 60,000, it's 16. And then each additional 4,000 square feet, you add 1 more unit. So it's 17.
I'm kind of with Catherine on that. I typically side with animal control on this, if they feel comfortable with it. One of the things that makes me feel a little bit more comfortable about this is that within the conditional approval, there's already a 5-year sunset clause put into it. So that I would have wanted to add something like that in there, even if we didn't have that in there. I think what Shannon said about designating an area for the manure bins would be nice, just so that we know that it's there. I think my concerns could be easily put into the resolution. So I think I'm generally okay with it.
Do we have any other discussion, or would you like to take a vote? Anyone want to make a motion? Jeff?
Oh man, let me scroll through. Okay. I will make a motion to approve resolution 2025-17 with the additional conditions that a 5-foot setback is kept along the paddock area, and clarifying stipulation and understanding that these paddocks, these corrals are the permit-free variety and will need to comply with all of our existing Norco municipal code that applies there, with the addition that on the site plan, a specific area set aside for the manure bins. Did I miss anything?
I have a question of you. You just specified the paddock area for the 5-foot setback.
Sorry.
But we do mean every place a horse is contained would have a, okay.
Change it.
Sorry.
5-foot setback from horse occupied areas.
Anyone want to make a second? Did you have more discussion?
Second.
Okay, Member Shu,
Yes.
Member Fiore,
Yes.
Member Shaziki,
No.
and Chair Hedges,
No. Tie. And we don't have a tiebreaker.
and Youth Commissioner Lingalese.
Yes.
And the commissioner's vote does not count for the quorum. Attorney Hurley, we have a 2-2. The way I understand, isn't it a denial at that point?
Well, it depends on your tradition. Typically, a 2-2 is a denial of that motion, but not a denial. It's a no action, technically.
No action, correct.
So start over.
Does anyone want to change their vote? No?
No?
No? No.
Well, at a stalemate, and because Sarah's too cowardly to jump in here, you have a denial, and it's appealable to the council, as was read by Alma earlier. And thank you for playing.
Okay. We're now on to number 6, commission, any staff communications? And if not, then we'll adjourn. We're adjourned.